just playing out these super standard champions that they've been playing all spring long. Now we're going to hop back into Champion Select and see what Longzhu has for us now that they're on the red side.
On the red side, they'll have some must bans. We'll see how many of them they go for, because they banned Kennen on the blue side, which to me seemed pretty awkward. Does suggest that Khan doesn't play that champion. Giving a lot of respect to Bless as well, banning Elise on red side. I thought BBQ would consider the Elise ban, given that we've seen it banned against Cuz before. It is his comfort jungler. There is one other comfort jungler, and that's the one I want to see, is that he got to rank 1 and largely has kept up his top 5 ranking on Nidalee.
The Nidalee.
And Nidalee is back. We haven't seen it at the highest level yet, but so many junglers are preparing Nidalee in solo queue that I don't think we're that far away.
Yeah, and look, we were actually just at the Everate team house, and bit of a spoiler alert, got to see Hachani win a pretty convincing game on the Nidalee.
Hey, I don't know if I want to see Hachani's jungle Nidalee. That's one that not necessarily... I'm talking about the peanut Nidalee. I'm talking about the Cuz Nidalee.
We don't even know whether Hachani's going to be
Then
playing.
again, Bengi showed us one of the most memorable Nidalee games of all time as first-time Nidalee in World Semifinals.
Yes, I do remember that.
And now he's in China.
Yeah.
Coincidence?
I think not.
These bans are very, very different. Quite a lot has come through. Kennen has come through. BBQ going to consider taking that at first pick, given that Longzhu have shown they don't pick it, or do they just leave it and take it in a different area of the draft? Conventional wisdom would be that if you want Kennen, you take it here at first pick. First time it's gotten through the draft, I believe, in any game this season. Been very, very high priority, Zac and Kennen especially. Fiora available too. So the top lane pool in no way has been targeted, and with so much available, no team is showing pause at jumping for top laners. The jungle pool definitely a little bit more attacked, so that's why we see Lee Sin first from BBQ.
Means that we have to see a new champion out of Cuz for the summer split, as he's only played the Lee Sin and Elise thus far.
He's going to flash.
Be an interesting one.
I think this is more of a mana flash. It's not. Wow, okay, he's actually going to lock in Rek'Sai. This is the Bless only champion.
This is the thing, it's the Bless special. He's like, I can beat you on your champion.
And people have heard that Rek'Sai will be reworked in future patches, and this is the old Rek'Sai, so still has the global, still is the pressure jungle, but I don't know if this is Cuz thinking that Rek'Sai is strong, or if it's a bit of a mana pick, just because, again, Bless was literally our only Rek'Sai player of any repute last season.
And remember, this is the very start of a very different patch for the summer split, Papa Smithy. This could be BDD playing Farmer Rek'Sai in the mid lane. Who knows?
His Farmer Zed was pretty good.
It was pretty good. And Rek'Sai pretty good at getting back to the lane as well. So think about how much farming you could do.
I know you're being just...
a bit facetious?
A bit facetious there. Emphasis on the faci. But we actually
I don't know what that means.
We had top lane Rek'Sai from Samsung in 2015. That was actually played quite a bit. It's not going to happen here, but something to talk about.
That's the reason why I couldn't talk about top lane Rek'Sai.
Kennen is locked in. Always the outside chance that it's going to be a flex to the AD carry, but it hasn't been seen in Korea so far. It's been much more of a pick in the EU LCS, so heavily expecting they've blind picked top lane.
Yeah, I haven't actually written down the Kennen, so making sure that I'm going to wait until they decide exactly where that is going to go, Papa Smithy. I'm good at this, keeping the notes, but it is going to be Gorilla's Zyra once again, as they look for their first ban.
It was the answer to Thresh. It's sort of lane where you can interrupt the hooks with the plant, so you can understand why it is being taken in this case, and it's just a pressure lane in its own right. No mid laners selected so far. 2 banned. LeBlanc, the first one coming through from Longzhu, and the Syndra in the first rotation. Something like Talia is very high priority for the mid lane champion pool.
Certainly is. Still, making sure that they ride this time down as much as possible to make up their mind. Jace is going to be it in the end.
They're probably going to double ban top lane to try and get the Kennen a good matchup. Now, he kind of has an innately strong matchup against almost every champion.
Yeah.
So where Khan will go here will be intriguing. In the longest time ago, we're talking maybe Season 3, Season 4, one of the few counters to Kennen when he was strong was actually Jarvan. Jarvan top lane was seen as a very strong pick into Kennen. Just kill pressure, EQ, ult, and that was going to do 3/4 of the health of an AP Kennen at the time. So returning to Kennen duty here is possible, even though on a simple level, you're going to be taking a lot of auto attacks.
Well, final ban to now come in from BBQ.
Orianna is another potential ban here.
Ooh, well, Orianna was already banned, but it was the Lucian taken away the last time around, so Longzhu can opt in for that one if they'd like to.
Interesting. So, like you say, a double 80 carry comp is perfect. I looked at the Rek'Sai and I was like, of course, Orianna, but that was banned, as you say, respect banned way earlier in the draft, and the Jarvan available, and like I say, is kind of a legacy good pick into Kennen. Going to be moused over for now. Will be locked in.
Okay, there it is. So J4 now to be picked up by the J4 man himself in Khan on the top side of the map. See whether he's going to be able to create the same magic that he created against KT. Oh, Tempt. Flashing that Corki that he played to such great effect. On a team that didn't pick up too many victories in the spring split, he still had a 71% win rate on the Corki. So pretty impressive. As Ghost is going to lock away the Kalista. I love it.
I really thought we would see Kalista tonight, but I thought it was going to be in our second match just because Samyun has been completely spamming Kalista to great effect. Going to be taken much earlier, and it is that famed Kalista Thresh lane. So hard to gank after level 6, given the difficult choices when it comes to lockdown. And for a blind pick mid laner, BBQ thinking of a couple of options. They look like they might actually be going with the Vladimir. Very interesting to see as a blind pick. We saw a little bit of that from Jinair at the end of last season when Vlad got his last buffs.
Ooh, BDD actually. At least Gorilla was mousing over the Kassadin very, very quickly. Still having to think about it. We'll see whether we are going to see the Kassadin in the mid lane. Of course, Force Pulse working a little bit better, and it is going to be locked in. Oh, God. Kassadin versus Vlad. It's been a long time since this was meta, Papa Smithy.
And it's one of those lanes that doesn't have the highest harass early. Whenever we are looking for color points on a Vladimir, it's about get to level 9, get through the laning phase. Well, guess what? Giving Kassadin a free ride to level 9 is no fun either. And I was talking pretty extensively about Kassadin yesterday, about Kuro playing it extensively, about people talking about its great picking to Talia and other lanes. Kassadin has been buffed a couple of times, and that usually rears its ugly head into a Kassadin meta, as you and I have casted through multiple times. And our first Kassadin of the season will be locked in for Longzhu.
And it's going to be BDD playing it as well, so it could be any levels of excitement. Could just be farming things out. Who knows what's going to happen, but on the top side of the map, Khan's got his hands back on that Jarvan 4. The Crazy has the coveted Kennen. First time we've seen it get through, and we'll see whether this is going to be able to bring us to a game 3.
So the Doran Shield does, trying to shut down those auto attacks. Rek'Sai also is a very intriguing choice.
Yeah.
Kassadin versus Vladimir. Not what I expected for week 1, but both picks certainly in the meta, and the new picks are kind of in every lane because the Kalista has been played sparingly in the past 6 months, but it feels like now Kalista Thresh, just like the Zion Rakan, are almost an exclusive duo where together they produce the best results.
Yeah, they most certainly do, and yeah, Kalista was flirted with for a little while, but wasn't necessarily locked in as that standard pickup that she once was.
I mean, just look at this overview. It's kind of innovation for new picks in every lane. Fun stuff.
Yeah, we'll see what's going to happen as we hop into game number 2.
Well, I didn't take money this time, Atlas, and we've had 10 Doran Shields so far in this particular one. By take money, I mean I didn't make an actual number prediction.
No,
I had 16 for a full 2 matches, and we've got 10 in the first 2 games here.
Yeah, so I'd probably opt in for something like a 24 if I was going to lock in a number. Because I'm expecting we're going to have a long series for our second one of the night.
5 Doran Shields.
Oh, yeah. That's what we're looking for, is Prey pokes his head around. Not opting in for the Pulse Fire, Caitlyn. It's all we've been seeing. Still just sticking for the tried and true.
And Prey's famous Caitlyn skin, as we see some global fans on the screen, has been the pink Caitlyn. That's the one he loves.
Yeah. I like that one too.
I was complaining bitterly on yesterday's cast.
You were.
It doesn't remember the chroma choice when you pull out the hats on the recall of Pulse Fire, Caitlyn. Where is the technology, Riot?
Yep. Please, fix it. It's alright, we'll get there. There'll be a hot fix. Oh, Hawk's going to land very early on here.
Right.
Totra going aggressive. That has to be the exhaust coming down as well. Still, pretty even trade when it comes to these summoner spells.
You do forget when you don't play against Kalista for a while that there is that chance of being chased down in a long lane with the Rend for a possible first blood. And at the same time, we see a big, aggressive invade by BBQ. Looks like they want to be forcing vertical jungling and putting the pressure onto the Jarvan.
Well, actually, Bless and Cuz smacking on with one another. Cuz is going to be able to eat up that rage, get a bit of that health back, but with the wards down, the vision available, Khan's going aggressive onto Crazy here as well.
The fight continues because they do not want to give Longzhu here up the top side of the map. That means they'll have much more risky time having Jarvan look for all-in trades against the cannon like he needs to. So they don't want to opt in for vertical jungling, and that means they might have a smite battle.
Well, Cuz has now got the health advantage as Bless is going to move himself away. Does have access to that blast cone if he wants to keep safe, but just wanted to give away that aggro. Looking for a reset now. Yeah, that's going to be it. So Bless is going to be able to lock that one down. Has the safeguard at level 2. Gets all that health back, and Cuz is relegated under his inner turret. So important who was going to get that red buff for so many different reasons, and Bless now with a massive start.
Did feel like when you kite out and get the cooldown back on the Q that Lee Sin would have the standard advantage with his Sonic Wave resonating strike missing health damage, but Cuz still was kind of trusting his young man mechanics, looking for the smite steal away. Did not want to allow vertical jungling to happen because wanted to give the best chance for Khan to have options against Crazy, but now you can already see that Khan has been denied multiple waves. He only just hit level 2 when Crazy's at level 3, so that experience will finally go to him. There's going to be a CS advantage and probably a pretty heavy pressure topside advantage for BBQ.
Yeah, and this is with Crazy starting off having to use that potion at level 1 as well, but this Doran's played enough pressure here for the cannon to stay safe. SpeedyD going to be throwing out Qs all over the place, but don't expect any action really in this lane quite some time.
Jungle pressure's always been an important factor through every Kassadin meta, just because Kassadin's one demonstrable weakness was in the pre-6 laning.
Mm-hmm. Of course, it seemed like it was the only time he was vulnerable, when it was back in the Kassadin meta of old.
A bit more windows now. You know, the Rift Walk at level 1 does have quite a long time before you can reuse it. So
yeah.
He does die sometimes between level 6 and 11, but I know I've never seen a Kassadin die after level 11. I don't know about you, Atlas.
No, that's not a thing that I have witnessed either. I even thought that it was so true that I started playing Kassadin almost exclusively.
How'd that go?
Not so great for me, but I understand what professional players can do. I found that I had no trouble dying at all.
Can't use his teleport pretty early here, just back with a long sword. And also the refillable. Probably will have to go corrupting because, you know, against a ranged auto attacker, gonna have to be using your Q for wave clear more than you like. Because bot lane, no flash.
Yeah, now the hook gonna land as Gorilla's gonna use that flash immediately, but gets flayed back, and that's gonna be the Ren kill. He knew that he was dead as Prey's trying to get as much damage back as possible. BBQ picking up first blood, and this is the start that they need. And
kind of a lot of the criticism has to go to Longzhu pushing up at level 1 and opening up a trade when the hook landed from Totoro. They swapped summoners, and that meant there was no exhaust to be used the second time around. Exhaust only coming off cooldown just as we speak. And again, Longzhu opted into pushing up lane and trading auto attacks against Kalista Thresh. And previous meta should have taught us that is never a good option.
Nope. Interestingly enough, this is a very different composition that Longzhu have put together. So if they can weather the storm of a difficult early game, they still have tools for when that late game does roll around. However, BBQ now with a lot of snowball potential and that late game insurance that they still have, especially when it comes to locking down these objectives. When Kalista falls out of the meta, you forget how incredibly good Rend is for avoiding any of those 50-50 situations.
The late game you speak about and what the late game will look like, I think is kind of up for debate, even in the best case scenario for both teams. Just because Vladimir doesn't take teleport doesn't mean he's not going to be in a side lane looking to match the Kassadin, who has taken the teleport as Kassadin often does. The Cannon, will he be able to match itemization to beat both Jarvan and Kassadin? Probably not. So it doesn't feel like any of the expected auto-win split pushes kind of have a free ride in this game. I'm really interested to see whether we get the 1-3-1, whether BBQ just say screw it and go for 5v5 team fights. There's a lot of different identities these teams can take on. The champions themselves are pretty flexible.
Yeah. I'm also excited to see what does happen. See Totoro down there utilizing that Scryer's Bloom to see where all of these wards are.
Running back up, but is in vision.
Gorilla's going to be here to at least help Cuz out. have his red buff just yet. Q's going to land. That's a lot of damage.
But he picks up the smite, so he gets to level 5.
That's something.
They're looking for micro victories. Bless is putting a lot of effort into creating as much implied pressure around top and mid lane, the solo lanes that have done so much of Longzhu's heavy lifting in their 3 game victories so far. They're exclusively playing around there, and when you get a solo kill, or at least a 2v2 kill in the bot lane, while your jungler has spent all his time on the top side, it lets you know that the pinch is being felt all across the map for Longzhu.
Most certainly. Because now with that Tiamat built up, though, he's going to be able to speed farm this jungle, as Rek'Sai's want to do. I believe it was SOFM that started this off.
Had it in Korea very early as well. I want to say it was Beyond who was the first person to do it, but it was back in summer of 2016 that we started to see that build. But you're right, it was picked up by a lot of junglers around the world. It's always a bit awkward crediting those things. It could have just been a no-name solo queue player that was doing it, and that's where the inspiration came.
We need to caveat with a bit of in-competitive play action. However, you're entirely right. Just remember that it was talk of the town when it first started. Another red buff has now been stolen, though. Bless takes that one away, so the extra damage that Cuz did pick up is for naught when it comes to locking down a red. BDD now with his Catalyst complete, grabs himself a cheeky Doran's ring as well. Ring and a shield from the Dolan factory, and good stuff.
People who gave up playing playing League of Legends sometimes during one of the last Kassadin metas and wonder what's changed about the Kassadin. The Force Pulse now has, not the Force Pulse, the E, sorry, has 1 less second on the cooldown, so you can be using the ability that much more often. And also, there's been a lot of normalization around magic resist per level, something Kassadin used to have, then was taken away and now is back. And it's more critical for Kassadin because he actually has the passive that means he takes the reduced magic damage already. So when you have higher base magic resist and also magic damage shields, it just means that in AP lanes especially, he gets through the laning phase that much easier.
Yeah, and you can see it actually. Tempt is unable to really answer back. Vladimir, it's always a difficult question when you ask him how he feels in lane, because he could be at half health, he just doesn't seem to care. Transfusion pretty strong, but as you can see, that Force Pulse is tearing him up. And you were right, Papa Smithy, you just got to believe in yourself.
Null Sphere, Force Pulse, Kassadin spell names. We haven't had much Kassadin.
Netherblade, I believe, is a W that no one ever says because it doesn't really do much.
It gets some mana back.
It's just an auto
so
attack.
that it can Force Pulse more.
And it also means that you build Lichbane in a fun way. Because having an auto attack reset makes Sheen fun. And you do a lot of damage. BDD's going to go aggressive. In comes Bless to try and capitalize. Good Rift Walk.
He actually flashed out of the ultimate as well. Flash got a lot of value. It means he doesn't even take any damage. Cuz has the drop on Bless.
And he's going to grab that knock up there as well. The kick is going to kick him back, but we got a very confusing animation.
I couldn't tell if it was no displacement because of where it was, or just a bit of visual lag as it ended up being. The end result was no Flash having to be blown by Bless.
That was League of Legends trying to work out where he was supposed to go during that time, and it's taken a little bit.
I like to think Vel'Koz was somewhere trying to work out the geometry there.
Oh, someone needs to make that picture. Just Vel'Koz with a lab coat.
Yep.
Doing the calculations. Oh, man.
Anything that can bring Vel'Koz talk into LCK is a value add.
Super good.
We lost Sarsen. He retired, so he was a noted Vel'Koz player, and Faker plays it once a year.
Yeah, we'll have to talk to Max. I reckon he'll play Vel'Koz support
That's
if we
true.
ask him.
He's played a couple of times. You're right. I was thinking more of the mid lane Vel'Koz.
Yep, true. Got it. Thankfully, Max does exist. His Cuz is like, maybe there'll be a red buff over here.
There is.
Haven't found one.
He just can't get near it.
Yep. That's exactly what's going on as well. Given his tremor sense, but Bless says, you're never going to get a red buff, my friend.
Crazy went for Blade the Ruin King first, not against Rumble, so Wit's End, while it'll be useful against the cannon later. This is the all-in I was talking about.
Yeah, that's a lot of damage as well. Slicing Maelstrom has to come out. Flash gained with the Cataclysm from Khan. Crazy says, well, it looks like I actually can't really lane against this guy now. That's a problem.
Now, because it's on-hit cannon rather than the AP cannon versus AD Jarvan matchup I was alluding to, he does have lifesteal, so the value of chunking him is still always going to be there, but it's lower than before, and that's why he doesn't get punished too much. Both junglers here.
Yeah, It could be a 2v2.
They're waiting for the next Rift Walk, I think, before Bless will go in.
Well, they know exactly what's going on the side of BBQ, because...
Both teams do. Well, I mean, Bless is not moving, so doesn't have vision with the Tremor Sense just yet.
But I believe he may have actually been seen. He could have, of course, backed on the side of Bless, and Cuz wouldn't know. Yeah, finds him out. Prey Seeker is most certainly going to do exactly that.
Now, if both teams run at each other 5v5, it's really interesting to work out who wins from that. Jarvan usually does fall off quite a bit in team fight. In fact, they flash here.
Yeah, that's the flash knockup as BDD is waiting for that next Rift Walk. Of course, Tempt is not going to be able to slow him down, but they don't move any further forward. Bless makes his way out once again. Doesn't have to use the Dragon Rage or that flash, so gank's still very, very potent from the Lee Sin.
First Instinct is slight advantage to Longzhu in the late game. They have a lot more AoE damage compared to just the Hurricane
That was
bolts.
my first impression
And
as well.
you know, again, Cannon and Kallista's AoE damage is pretty minimal, especially when we're talking about on-hit Cannon. Just the Hurricane there. Vladimir does plenty of AoE, but it feels like Longzhu will have a bit more AoE damage, so maybe that will split the teams, but we're splitting hairs almost. We're getting pretty comparable.
Cuz is actually going to get kicked back. Crazy's going to miss the Q because of it, but it's a cute little dive under. Fantastic shield, but the stun still comes in, and Crazy's able to grab the kill. Now Khan in a tumultuous situation and is going to fall down. Tempt was there, doesn't even get an assist. It's just the jungle top duo that's going to be able to get the work done, and Crazy utilizes the change in Slicing Maelstrom that happened a little while ago to clear out that minion wave.
Yeah, BDD wasn't able to teleport in, didn't have flash, didn't feel strong enough at level 11, and end result is 2 kills and a turret over to BBQ. The Unburrow was on point to interrupt the sonic wave damage, but that wasn't enough. The collapse was there from BBQ, and first series advantage for BBQ.
Yeah. From first blood on the bottom side of the map to independently of that, being able to pick up control on the top side is very important. Cuz says, please just let me have a dang red buff, and he's not going to get one. BDD looking to try and claw his way around here. Force Pulse does a lot of damage. Cuz picks up the kill and the red buff, thank God. Oh, there's the flash Cataclysm. Not a lot of flashes here in this pit as BDD is going to be able to jump on top. Is that going to be enough? Hemoplague does get the kill as Tempt is running super fast. Gorilla's there. Fantastic Proto Belt from Tempt and avoids the knockup. But can you run away from a Kassadin? No, you can't, nor can you run away from the auto attacks of Azara.
Yeah, Gorilla coming in to try and help clean up. They do get the kill advantage. They're picking up 3 for 1 to BBQ. But at the same time, they give up complete control in the bot lane. Prey's going to have Dancing Feet to not get dove in the bot lane. Kassadin with flashback up didn't have to use it and started to clean up. Wood 2, late game insurances on either side in the mid laners here. And it's like the side advantage does go over to BD, even though I was very impressed with the sideways proto belt from Tempt.
Yeah, that was some fancy footwork from Tempt to try and get himself out of the way. It wasn't going to work out though, and this is what happens when you don't cast Kassadin for a little while, is you think that someone's going to escape from something, and really, it's largely impossible unless they can get towards their nexus relatively easily. Because that Rift Walk is very, very difficult to overcome. And that's going to be Rod of Ages done, and I was talking about the Lich Bane. He's going to be able to grab that Sheen, and this is a huge power spike actually for BDD. His burst damage potential is huge.
And it's a very split push orientated build. You need armor and magic resist to survive the inevitable AoEs you'll be down in this game, whether it's just the Cannon and Callista auto attacks or Vladimir's AoE magic damage. So it feels like going Lich Bane clearly will provide burst, but it's more about really getting the most out of the teleport.
Yeah.
So as a second item, it lets you know that the first thought for Longzhu is split push.
I like it as well, giving him that 10% CDR. Kassadin does love himself some CDR if he can get it, especially with that mana pool being built up by that Rod of Ages. Tempt takes that burst. Khan
knows the flash is still down for Tempt.
Took the Ignite as well, did Tempt. Normally used to seeing things like the Ghost on the Vladimir, just going for a very aggressive lane against the Kassadin.
It's one of those things where you take the Ignite for kill pressure, but also for a bit of insurance in terms of laning phase. You want to have... It's almost a defensive Ignite choice, where it gives you lane control, but isn't always for securing kills.
Yeah. Remember, it's a 2.3 thousand gold lead for BBQ at the moment, but only one turret to be taken. Longju haven't been able to grab anything just yet. BDD grabs himself his blue buff. Longju are still just looking for an opportunity to shove these waves back. Caitlyn, remember, in the early game, is happiest when she's shooting a structure. Doesn't really like shooting champions. I mean, she does in lane, you know, for the harassment with her extra long range, but that's not necessarily what she's good at until she has a few items to back it up.
BBQ.
Yeah, looking for it.
They've invested so much time in controlling red buff from level 1 and the top side jungle. They like where the lane pressure has been for the majority of this game. This shows you visually that the big change with Rift Herald is that soloing it is a lot easier than before. Cuz will get information with Tremor Sense.
Oh wow, BDD's here as well. They come around at exactly the
Gonna
right time. Crazy's in there. Cuz really wants to be able to lock this down, but doesn't get it. It's Blessed that grabs the Rift Herald. And now Khan's turning up a little bit too late. Crazy gets the kill onto Cuz. Flag and Drag gets Khan out, but damage had already been done. So missed smite from Cuz and unable to save himself afterwards.
And again, with the microscope on, it feels like Cuz was not working well with his laners there. Went in solo, neither BD and Khan were coming in. Speaking of BD and Khan.
Oh God, Bless, in so much trouble. The fadeaway jump shot from BDD. It's going to be able to lock that one up. Null Sphere doing work. Makes his way back in, throws out another one onto Tempt.
The top lane, the Rift Herald's already been used super early. It's going to get most of this second turret.
Going to be taken down, so no turret to be taken with the Rift Herald, but just a lot of damage. So you'd say, would that be like a Longju last game level Rift Herald?
Pretty much around the same level. It's not the high tier Rift Herald or the big efficiency that we saw from Samsung against SKT. Basically, Crazy saw that Jarvan invested a lot leaving the lane, looking for an ultimate, and thus just plopped down the Rift Herald early. Rift Herald's kind of a multi-step objective, just because you have to get your lanes in a great spot to use it.
Yeah.
And the biggest takeaway that I think the fans should take is just it's actually quite easy to solo down the Rift Herald. The previous Rift Herald, almost impossible, but if you get a jungle enchant and then, you know, Ruby Crystal on top, maybe even boots too, most junglers can actually solo down the objective and stay at high health doing it. One of the reasons we didn't see it much at all previously was that it took two people leaving and giving up basically their whole health bar to claim, whereas now it's a much easier to take objective. You don't need to recall after picking up Rift.
Yeah, and it was always very telegraphed as well. You saw that there were two people missing, and it just gave a heck of a lot of map pressure over to the opposite side when you just didn't really need to. As Khan, oh man, that's frustrating for Cuz. Can't get any red buffs. Even his top lane is stealing them from him.
I'm going to go with probably some communication there, but we can always assume it was the worst case scenario.
Yeah. Oh, Gorilla pushing forward with Prey. Finally, feels like pressure has been in favor of BBQ in this bottom lane for the entire game. Thankfully, Prey is incredibly good at hitting minions the last time. So he's going to stay within touching distance of that CS, despite that early start being not so good.
BD has no cares now, hitting level 13 and has flash back up. Basically trading farm with the Vlad, daring us into a late game teamfight scenario.
Oh god, yeah, and BDD still hasn't died. KDA is getting ever higher. I want him to die once so that it's an actual number, Papa Smithy.
Want it to be quantifiable?
Yes, please. It's crazy. Ooh, gets out of the way of Cataclysm range. You know Khan was going to pull that trigger. Oh, that's cute.
One of the problems, though, when you go this Jarvan build is that if you use your EQ for gap close, you don't actually do that much damage. You ult and show it's a decent 500 damage burst, but it's all about being face-checked when you're full AD Jarvan, because then you can actually use your first EQ for damage, then ultimate.
Yeah.
Have the armor shred already down. And when Rek'Sai's the follow-up damage, every point of damage does actually matter against someone like the Cannon. So would have been able to
cleavers, yeah.
He would have been able to flash away and get out in that scenario, but didn't have to blow a flash at all. Pure laning build, Atlas, from the Cannon. It's gone Phantom Dancer second, not a Frozen Mallet or a Hurricane. It's just purely about trying to win the duels against J4.
Oh god, BDD. Lots of damage here on Tempt. Holds onto the pool though. Wasn't in too much of a risk of dying, but yeah, I like what you're talking about here with the Phantom Dancer being picked up second. Just knows that he's going to be dueling throughout most of this game. Khan wants to be in that split push scenario. Not now though, he's just going to be able to take down this turret if he can. Tempt is going to get blown up! Hemoplague does nothing! I don't know what that was. Rush of blood to the head or something, but Tempt was on a different wavelength to the rest of his team.
I mean, the theory there was Kennen was coming down. He thought that he could buy enough time and bait in enough with the pull and flash to actually turn around and fly, but he was just too late. He was surprised by the burst damage coming through from the Force Pulse and the EQ from Khan and just died instantly. And now we see once again the follow-on effect when you make a kind of solo mistake like this is that nothing to respect for Prey and Gorilla, happy to push up in the bot lane, and for once it's actually Cuz and Longzhu having the eyes on a red buff take from BBQ and not the other way around.
Well, thankfully we were looking towards the top side to see the turret health, but we should be looking at Crazy's health because it's no longer there. The gank from BDD was most certainly successful, showing off his shiny new Lichbane.
And shiny new Lichbane is bevied by a 4-0-2 scoreline.
This is all of a sudden looking like a very difficult game for BBQ.
We don't have a player of the week, but if he goes deathless in a week and Longzhu go 4-0, I think you can give it over to BDD. I almost said BBQ, but BDD.
Yep, no, look, I can't argue with that. Nor would I ever want to, Papa Smithy. The other thing that I love is the fact that he even picked this Kassadin, because I hadn't thought about it before, but Kassadin into Callista is a beautiful idea. The fact that you can't just bounce around away from it as Fate's Call going to be used.
Pops the damage from the Caitlyn ultimate, you'll notice. Took no damage there,
yeah,
of course.
Cute.
All these interactions that, you know, with how the meta was, which at some points in, especially the start of spring,
you don't get to talk about it.
It was pretty stale meta at the start of spring with the auto-ban champions. Now it feels like there's a bit of a large amount of champion pool available. Pocket picks coming out, new power picks coming out.
I swear, when I think about like the excitingness of a meta, I look at the top lane. And right now we've got Kennen versus Jarvan. So I like this meta, Papa Smithy. I'm having a good time. No more of these wet noodles. We're not seeing Maokai versus Nautilus every goddamn game.
I feel like you stepped away as, you know, the game was like pretty settled and pretty stale, and you jumped back in just as the patches started to open up some of the fun in the top lane.
That's what I did. I wasn't in Visa Purgatory. No. I was just like, no, it's just Meta is not for me. I don't know why I had to be French, but I did.
That sounded almost Italian.
Really? Oh, maybe my the Australian.
I think you were kind of straddling
really
the line between the two there.
I often do that.
Well, I speak French, and it doesn't sound like French to me.
You do actually, don't you?
Un petit peu.
Little bit of French.
Oui, oui.
I don't know whether you need to go to the bathroom or whether you're speaking French.
I don't look alarmed on my face. If I needed to, I would have looked really worried.
Well, BDD going for the Zhonya's Hourglass for item number 3 and for 30% CDR as well. But right now he's sitting on 40 because he's got that blue buff ready-made at level 15. Feeling real good. Everyone having to back away from BDD whenever he turns up.
And it's this awkward spot where, sure, Crazy's pretty strong against Jarvan, but it's going to be Jarvan plus X, Jarvan plus Rek'Sai, Jarvan plus Kassadin especially.
Yeah.
And then the laning build there doesn't actually give him that much. So would it have been better going Frozen Mallet? Would it have been better going something more teamfight oriented, or starting to build a Hex Drinker, then go the full Phantom Dancer? It's a very unenviable spot. It's actually quite a hard one to work out what the zero-sum build for Crazy should have been. But there's a lot of play, a counterplay through Longzhu's rotations available against the Kennen, like I said, because you can't build against Khan and BDD at the same time on a budget. It's just impossible.
Yeah, it feels real difficult. The other thing as well, I mean, we were talking about Longzhu in the late game, and I've still been thinking about this, trying to work out who has it, because you've got fantastic wombo potential out of BBQ, their team fight. Front to back feels good, you know, with the strategy they're going for. Hemo Plague down, all of the AoE damage shoved in, and then Ren gets a pentakill instantly, you know, that sort of thing, if in an ideal world.
But what does it look like? How does the fight start?
Yeah, exactly right. With triple global on the side of Longzhu, they never need to opt into that, and if there's ever a Baron gone for or anything like that, 3 people can turn up from the other side of the map after providing pressure. This feels like BBQ aren't going to get the options that they're looking for.
And also initiation-wise, on the side of BBQ is another trade happening.
Crazy looking for Khan, who's going to back away. Always dangerous as he gets stunned once again. Thankfully, the turret still alive.
Phantom Dancer Ninja Tabi working out pretty well there.
Oh, yeah. I take a lot of damage.
But coming back to what you were mentioning, I think chucking in Thresh to initiate, he will die instantly. You know, Thresh in the late game teamfight is actually pretty weak unless he has 4 or 5 ore items. Well, let's just skip that thought.
Whoa, let's actually opt to get him. Prey, fantastic flash and survives for a long time. Nice double knock up there from Gorilla.
TP.
As in comes BDD. Can he get the damage down? But no, he can't. That's a double kill already for Ghost. And this is exactly what we're talking about. If they can get these 5v5 fights happening, they might be able to turn it on its head, and that is 4 kills and probably a Baron for BBQ.
Yeah, the true 5v5 wasn't necessary. It was very much about the disconnect between the members of Longzhu. By the time the teleports had come through, Prey was already dead. A lot of those Callista Spears in should be a very easy claim on the Baron. And BBQ, you know, we were just waffling on about what ifs, and then they just turned on the style.
Yeah, they certainly did. And didn't even need to hit that Fate's Call. There was a triple knockup with the Stranglethorns. Buying time was working, but it just looks like a more coordinated BBQ.
And it was front to back, like you mentioned, because Prey was dead, and there was no real frontline, backline issues going on the side of Longzhu. It was just free target acquisition for Ghost, no threat onto him after the Caitlyn was already dispatched. So perfect stuff from BBQ. Gets them there, once again, a lead in this particular game. They started off well, things kind of started going away from them, but now, with the 1-3-1 possibilities, they're in a good spot.
Most certainly are able to grab a lot of vision towards that top side of the map as well, and it's now to see which turrets they can take down. This bottom one is a freebie. Ghost just needs one little stick to throw into that. Should be absolutely fine. BDD there to defend the inner turret, so they're not going to lose that one, but this outer in the mid lane should come under fire relatively soon. Prey knows that there are people around, given the purpleness of these minions. However, they are going to back away. Looks like BBQ are going to commit to at least shoving this minion wave towards the bottom inner turret.
Take 2 to wave clear. Cassidy not known for much in that way, and also match damage, getting reduced returns against the bound up minions.
I just want to point out that thankfully in that last almost ace was BDD that survived, so still undefined.
I see you're big on statistics.
Yeah, I'm just big on having a real number. Just want a real number.
One day.
So TM. Tempter's got that Banshee's Veil completed. A bit of added safety against BDD, but not a heck of a lot.
Losing the minimum when you have 2 melee range solo laners is a very tricky thing for Longzhu to do against a Baron buff.
Yeah.
Last objective they would ever want to surrender, given their comp does a lot of things, but again, repelling a Baron buff minions is not one.
Well, Prey's still having a decent time doing it now that he's got the double zeal as well as the Infinity Edge complete. Still down by 40 CS though. Ghost feeling quite comfortable. Oop, like ships in the night. Crazy and BDD pass one another. Bless in the end is able to take down this outer turret. That is going to spell a pretty disastrous lead in favor of BBQ.
Buff power play, not quantified, but certainly a bigger one. We've already seen multiple turrets go down, and could be another one very soon.
And they were set up for this as well, given the amount of damage that all of the outer turrets had sustained before that Baron was even taken. Just feels like the ideal scenario for BBQ.
Riptaro did a lot of the work in top lane before, and a couple of orders had some crazy needed afterwards.
Still, not over yet. Base is not broken. Still a lot of tools available here for Longzhu. There's double Cloud Drake going to be picked up by Ghost. Josh Wren does a heck of a lot of damage. You get a lot of sticks into your target.
Now we're at a point in the game where BBQ's lead feels pretty reminiscent of where Longzhu were at in the previous game. Not quite the same, just because there is a Fed Cassidy in the mid lane and some options for Longzhu, but questions that we've never had to answer before start to actually rear their ugly head. Like, what does Jarvan do from behind is always going to be a very different proposition when he's able to balance damage and tankiness with a large CS advantage and also some kills. Certainly can do both things, but really is high on the damage, low on the tankiness with this particular build.
Yeah.
The initiation of Jarvan, if it's just him using EQ and R to gap close and hoping that Cassidy and Caitlyn can do the rest of the work, I think this won't be enough with BBQ 9,000 gold, or 7,000 gold I should say, ahead.
Still feels like they have a composition that can make things work, as Khan's going to make his way in. Crazy looking for the extra stuns. Oh, takes a lot of damage. There it is. Cataclysm's going to lock that one down. BDD uses the Zhonya's to keep himself alive, and then Rift walks his way out. Preserves that KDA. grabs himself a pretty easy pick on a Crazy.
But it's on the other side of the map to top lane, and Prey was wave clearing in mid lane. They can't have members in multiple areas if they're sending 3 people bot lane, and that's why you see a teleport. They feel like they have to make more happen.
The hectic double teleport actually. Forceball slows down Ghost as BDD's trying to chase after him, but he has to get his way out. Big knock-up comes in as the Jarvan is pressured away. Cuz, it's now your turn. Gets the flash, but in comes Vlad. Tempt gets exhausted, but he's right in the right position. Massive hemoplague damage. Prey's gonna die as Cuz is gonna be taken down. BDD still surviving, but he's limping away from the Lee Sin. And this should spell a broken base for BBQ.
That's wants this kill on the BD. It'll be the first of the season.
Oh, so badly. There it is. He is now defined, and they are defined as probably losing this game very, very quickly.
Yeah, the minions will come in. That was actually a really bad engage from Longe. They used everything to get the kill in bot lane, you remember.
Yeah.
And the threat onto the Kalista. 1 Q and E wasn't getting it done through Phantom Dancer, through Hex Drinker. They didn't have the damage. They lost way more than they needed to, and they're going to lose the game.
Yeah, and that was a sick flash hook to end things. So BBQ even up the series 1-1. And this one all of a sudden got very interesting, Papa Smithy.
Yeah, the shot calling from behind, not the same as the shot calling from ahead for Longzhu. Going in for that fight without enough tools. You saw an EQ from Jarvan, a Rift Walk, and Force Pulse from Caster, and then they're like, wait, we don't have any more. We have to start walking away, because Lister turned around, started pumping the Ren stacks in, and they didn't have ultimates, ignites, or any other tools to kill the Kalista.
Yeah.
And anytime the Kalista is one of the first people to live and one of the first people to turn around and put in damage, Longzhu were not going to win a team fight. In fact, lost the game off that botched attempt. They were 5v4, had the potential to send all the members with the double teleport. But without the ultimates, the 4 looked much more powerful.
Yeah, and it was just those 2 team fights that BBQ were able to lock down. The first one leading towards the Baron. Didn't matter where they were up to in that game because, like we were talking about, their composition works a certain way, and if they can make it work that way, then it does fantastic things. It was about Longzhu not being able to play their style of League of Legends based on their composition, and BBQ finding the openings to get theirs working. It was beautiful to see.
Yeah, they pushed up too far in that one fight. Prey died first before the double teleport came in.
Yeah.
They got rolled over. Baron went down from there, and like you say, a second hard engage attempt, this time coming through from Longzhu, was what really was the ending of the game. It kind of hastened the ending. It looked like BBQ had enough of an advantage to take it over in more conventional fashion. But Longzhu thought, kill the Kalista. We got 1 pick, turn it into more. The more never came. Instead, the end of the game. And now we're, amazingly, given what's happened so far, finally poised between Longzhu and BBQ.
Yeah, and the question now is, what does Longzhu change moving into the next game? We are going to go to a short break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, BBQ try and get another one on the board and take down Longzhu, and Longzhu try and hold on. We'll see what happens when we get back.